realizing that there is a greater me on the inside of me. The phrase there's a greater you on the inside of you means being above normal, understanding your worth, and being confident in knowing who you are. But the first person who has to realize that there's a greater you on the inside of you is you. In life, we all go through stages of the good, the bad, and the ugly, which leads us to our purpose and promise. UTCM is a platform where you get to share your story and your truth of unmasking moments that allows you to embrace all stages in your life. UTCM looks forward to many people being able to unmask, uncover, and unveil themselves on the podcast. Thank you for watching and joining us.
We live. You know what? I should have, Wanda, oh my goodness. I should have had some like, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. I should have had some music. For you. So, I'm super excited. Tonight is the night. Hey, everybody who's going to come on. It is UTCM, Unmasking the Cover Me, Season 4, Episode 4. Super excited. Thank you everybody for joining. Who's going to join? Who's going to come on? We here.
We're here.
I gotta get better. You know what? I just thought about that. Like, I gotta get better with my intro a little bit. I don't know. I feel like sometimes I'd be like all over the place because I'd be like super excited, and I'm like, well, what do I say? How do I say it? What do I say? All right, girl, relax. But I'm upset now because I really should have had like a little like birthday song for you. I feel like
you already sang for me. That's enough.
Well, I appreciate you, Wanda, for coming on. You know what I'm saying? You could have been somewhere else. You could have been somewhere on the beach. You could have been doing something else besides being here, but you decided and you committed to it. So I definitely appreciate that. And I thank you for your willingness to come on and tell your story.
Yes, thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm ready. I'm ready when you are.
Yeah, let's go. Look, Wanda said, I'm ready. And I love the smile. You look absolutely beautiful tonight. So just to give like a little backstory, right, of how you and I met. So last year, I think it was almost around this time. I think it was either in March. And we were a part of this person. She had a pop-up shop with like wellness, mental health awareness too as well. Like she like intertwined it together. And she had like speakers. So I was a speaker and a presenter, and then also Wanda was too as well. And as she was speaking and telling her story, I'm looking like, oh my goodness. Like, you know how you, like I said, I think I said this before the podcast. I'm like, you know how you feel like sometimes like you're alone, like in this bubble by yourself when you're going through things. And like a lot of the things that you were saying, you know, like I was relating to, right? Like I found it very relatable. And your story was just very like impactful. And to see you, you know what I'm saying, still smiling and still going, and how you kind of, and I don't want to tell everything because I want you to really speak to it, but how you went from, being a photographer and capturing those moments and all that stuff, right? Like it was very like, I felt like inspiring and impactful to the awareness, right, that I feel like we are really trying to cultivate, like just as a culture, but also just as human beings, right, who have been through hard times, trauma, wearing a mask, you know, not knowing, like all that stuff, right? So I kind of want you to, you know, I guess first thing is first, I want you to, brag about yourself a little bit, introduce yourself, because, right, I gave a little story, right, about Wanda, but I want you to kind of tell the people, like who you are.
Well, for anyone who's watching this, my name is Wanda Lopez. I am a women's trauma and mental health advocate. I started my movement back in 2021. This is my third year continuously doing this movement, and it's more so for women who have experienced trauma, are experiencing trauma, and live with a just battle with mental health in general. And it started off. From me, it started, the inspiration came actually when I was in our internship. We were supposed to create a community project, come up with a community project, as a way of us giving back. And but it could have been anything. It was just planning it out. And so one day, I was looking through my photos, and a lot of the compliments I get with my photos or in person is my smile. But because I was going through a hard time, at the same time, I was like, if only people look beyond my smile. Like, what if people actually took the time to look beyond the photo, beyond the smile, like just ask me what's behind it. And it made me think, the more I shared my stories and my own personal experiences, the more I realized that I was not alone, and that there were these other women that were also smiling out there. They look beautiful through photos, but the moment you hear the story, you're in awe of the woman, because you would never know if you asked what's behind her smile. So my movement is titled Her Story in a Smile, because I wanted to combine my love for photography, and also I am in school for psychology, and eventually I want to do something in the mental health field. And I figured, how can I combine the two? And so I figured, pairing photos of women smiling and pairing their storytelling through their lived traumas and mental health, I felt like was the perfect combination, because people will pause at a photo, but I want them to look deeper, like dig deeper than just the surface, to get to know a woman's story, because it matters. I'm just here to remind not only myself, but women along the way, that no matter the age, it's not too late to tell your story or to reclaim your voice more than anything.
I like that. Reclaim your voice.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it. So that's, it's actually a good segue, right? Because I thought of something. I think I said before, my last couple of episodes, I said, I've been doing something a little new now. So every time I'm reading through the questionnaire, right, something kind of pops out to me. And I remember actually posting something, I think it was last year sometime. It was actually, I was having like a really hard day. And it was about, the title of the comment was, or the post was, what hides behind that beautiful smile. And I thought about that comment that I had, that post, I keep saying comment, the post that I made, once I was reading your questionnaire. So I'm just going to read it, right? So I said, this week has definitely been challenging for me, right? That my healing journey is still, and let me start all over. So this week has definitely challenged me along with reminding me that my healing journey is still in progress. Walking in the unknown can be frustrating, fearful, hurtful, hard, and even have you questioning yourself of who you are. But one thing that I have held on tightly to this week is that God is able, and he won't give up on me because I won't give up on him. And then I also said, it's hard out here for a saint.
Amen.
Right. But it really reminded me of, like, how much, and not even, I feel like not even just women, but I also feel like some men too as well, right? Like how, a picture can capture something so beautiful, right? But on the inside, and in the inside, like, we could really be suffering in silence. And I know for me, I'm gonna speak for me. I know that for a lot of years, like when I look back now at like photos of myself, I'm like, wow, like I was really hurting there, but no one would ever really know it because I didn't really express that, or I didn't even really know how to express it, to be honest with you. Like I didn't know how to talk about, you know what I'm saying, what I was really feeling and what I was going through. So yeah, what really does hide behind our smile? Like that's impactful. That really, really is impactful. And we'll dive a little bit more deeper into it too, as well as, as we go along the episode. So I always ask all my guests this question, right? And let me tell y'all something though. Let me tell y'all something about Wanda, okay? My girl Wanda, when a book coming out? When a book coming out? I'm gonna need, because when I tell you she was so like transparent and broke down in her questionnaire, like yeah, like my girl could write a book. Like it's come on, put the pen to the paper, Wanda. Put the pen to the paper.
It's
Put
in
the
the
pen.
air. It's in the air.
So how did you feel about the questionnaire?
I like it when questions get personal, because
Mm,
it challenges me to open up more. My whole point is to be transparent. The reason why I started this movement is because, just like your title, I was tired of masking myself. Like, I wanted to show the real me, and the real me, as smiley as I could be, I also suffer. I also have my hard moments. And so when like I told you before we went live, that like it's been a while since I've done an appearance, and a lot of it has been my own self. No one told me to stop. No one
mm,
stopped showing up. It was me, and in part I had to do it, to practice what I preach. When I say like, oh, take the time you need. Okay, I gotta take my own advice. But the other part, I realized that I was silencing myself all over again.
mm,
And that's what happened. That's literally what happened last year. From the moment of our we had the mental pop-up health pop-up, from that, the literally the day after until now, I shut down emotionally. My goal, well, my intention was to liberate myself emotionally last year as my intention. And I feel like I did it, but during it felt like I didn't do anything. I felt like I was going backwards, and I feel like
mm.
I did, but I needed to to be able to do this today. And so the questions that you asked, I like that because it challenged me to stop being so to get myself out of shutdown mode. Like, I didn't
Mm.
put myself down. And in answering those questions, I was like, all right, I know this feeling. Let me start being transparent again.
Yeah, that's good. So what was the, because I know you said, you it was kind of like you shut down,
Yeah,
right? And it was kind of like, I guess it was a you versus you type of moment.
yeah.
Right. So what did you feel um in you that kind of said, you know what, wait, Wanda, like this is a, like you're repeating a cycle of what you have done in the past. Like what did that moment actually look like for you?
Well, for me is a lot of the trauma and pain that I carry is all masculine. So a lot of it, the pain that I carry is more of a father wound.
Mm,
Um, right after the mental health thing is when I had a falling out with my father. Not necessarily a falling out, but we're just we're like two peas in a pod, so that we clash a lot too. But he's also a big component of my trauma, so it's one of those things. Um,
mm,
but then also I co-parent with the father of my kids, under the same roof, so
mm,
challenging, to heal when you're in the same environment that made you sick, you know. And
mm.
so for me, it was more so of just trying to do things differently. I was trying to handle, I realized that I was going backwards in the sense that I was trying to, um, I guess, not upgrade myself, but like I was like, basically I was trying to heal, but I was doing it knowing, well aware that I was not in the environment that I needed to be. And it's not until fast forward literally this month that I got the wake up call that, you know, there was a tough conversation that had to be had. And it was, I shared a post about it earlier this week, I think, where it said, I was prepared, but it still hurt. So I was
Mm.
scared to make this decision because I already had it set in my mind. However, once you have that sit down, once you get real with another person, and you just have to like say, we did the best that we could, but this is literally no more. You have to move forward, and it's
Yeah,
the way that I know I will grow. That's where I was like, that was my aha moment, where it's like, no, there's no fixing anymore. There's literally, you have to do what you got to do, and that's move forward. And
yeah,
that's painful too. So like, that's why I want to be transparent now, now that I'm coming back and getting ready to speak again, because I'm back. I feel like I'm back to, and I said this too in my stories the other day. I I'm back to square one, but with more experience this time. So
Mm,
I would feel like, oh, I went backwards, or oh, I'm starting over again, and how could I start over again? How am I gonna do this? But I was like, wait, that's what you're repeating the cycle of telling yourself that you can't do this, that you can't move on when you know you can. So like, let's get to.
yeah.
So yeah, am I hurting in this time? Yes, but at the same time, it's like I feel my self liberation finally happening, and
Mm,
that last year, but I realized why I didn't get that feeling last year, because I still needed to be in those repetitive scenarios to be able to understand what I understand now.
that's good. That's good. So it speaks to like really, doing the work. That's what that speaks to. Like, which is not always, it's not easy, but it's necessary for your healing journey.
Hmm.
And it speaks to, you actually taking the time to do the work. So it was all necessary though. Like, even though in our heads, right, we feel like, oh my goodness, like I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. I feel like I'm taking all these steps backwards. I'm not moving forward. But it was like as if God was like molding and shaping you into what you are sitting right now in today.
Hmm.
Wow. But
Yeah,
you actually had to choose to do that. Like,
yeah,
you had to make the decision to say, I'm going to do the work.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
And
Wow.
that's where I'm at right now. Like I'm glad that the conversation happened. It's not a conversation either of us wanted to take, but it's more so of like we just like, at least for me, like I can't even speak for him, but like for me it's more so of like, if I know I want different, I have to literally get away from what I'm attached to the most, because that goes back to trauma. Like there's such thing as a trauma bond.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wait, we're gonna have to speak about that, Wanda. Speak, because somebody mentioned that to me. I think I was having a conversation today. And someone had mentioned to me about I mentioned to them that I said it seems as if you are, it's really a trauma response. And then the person mentioned like, oh yeah, someone mentioned to me about trauma bonds, and I'm like, oh, what does that mean? So kind of speak to what a trauma bond is.
It's at least from my understanding, or the way
Yeah.
I, it is more so of you end up getting what you lacked in your childhood from the other person, but not necessarily you don't, but not in a healthy way. You don't realize it's not healthy until it's a little too late, um,
Mm,
where more trauma ends up building up from it. But at least for me, it was more so, okay, I didn't have a present father. I didn't have a loving father. So what did I attract? Yes, I attracted all those qualities, but I also attracted other qualities of my father that I didn't want to attract. And
mm,
so, like, did I get all that? Basically, now that I feel more like a woman, um younger me, I can say now teenage me, because that's when I got married young. I got married at 17. I got pregnant at 17. So
mm.
um back then, like, teenage me, who didn't know nothing about love, because I don't we've all been teenagers, like.
Right.
But I now that I look back, I know that a lot of my yearning for love with through another through a partner, was more so of me missing out on what my father didn't give me, and then him vice versa. Like he didn't get love from where he needed to, from his mom or whatever. Um, so I gave him that. So it was a lot,
Mm,
was what we were missing. Not that we didn't get along. We got along great. We literally, I'm about to be 31. Like I've known him since I was 14. So like
right.
was our trauma bonds getting together. We always got along well, but eventually the traumas that we didn't get to heal came along with our relationship, and then other stuff happened that ended up straining the relationship. And so we try to make it work, but it just came to the point now where we're like, it's a trauma bond. Like, we know we want the best for each other. We know that we tried the best that we could, but we're at a point where now, to avoid causing more damage or hurting ourselves just because we're hurt from each other, let's just make the decision to, this is where we have to separate ways in order to save whatever's left of the connection, at least.
Mm,
At least I want parents to understand, or anyone who's in a relationship and has kids, is that it's hard to want to even want to maintain a relationship with the father or mother of your kids. But it's so important, because it's no longer about the adults, it's about the kids. And like, what do you want to
yeah.
teach your kids? Do you want to continue the cycle of society and statistics, where parents get divorced, they hate each other, they can't get along, no one can do family outings because of pride or hurt? And it's like,
Yeah.
thanks to my healing, I've been able to manage that and remind myself that, yes, I have to choose myself first, but at the same time, I have kids now that play, and I don't want to teach them something that is just common when it comes to relationships, or divorce or anything like that. Like, I want to teach them in a way where you can love someone all you want, but if you're not happy at any point, it's okay to walk away, but you don't have to always do it in a chaotic way. You can do it in a peaceful way. And that's where I'm
Yeah.
right now, where, yes, I'm hurting, but at the same time, I know it has to be done. Like, it's just one of those things that it's like a kid really wanting that candy, and the mom's not giving it to them because they know it's bad. So it's like, just, you're gonna have to fight the urge.
Yeah.
If you are a person who tries and tries and tries and tries, at one point, it's no longer. I used to see it as, oh, I gave up, or, oh, I more so, I use the word failure, like fear of failing, like, oh, I failed this. I wanted to have a family.
Mm,
I it failed. I wanted to do this. It failed, but it's not failing. Like, I did all I could. Instead of me saying I failed, I surrendered. Like,
that's
it
good.
surrender, like, surrender, like, know when to wave the white flag. It's not so much about giving up, but know when to call it peace, like truce. Like, I call it truce. you know
Yeah.
let's move forward. And that's why, like, I've been saying a saying recently too, where it's that I just like to tell other people, day by day, but always forward, because that's literally the only thing that's keeping me sane. Like, day by,
Yeah.
if I can get through another day, I'm good.
Yeah, that's good. But that also, it speaks to maturity too, right?
Yeah,
But also, again, it goes back to like really making the choice of like, no, this is something I don't want to continue this same cycle,
yeah.
right? Because like you said, right, because now you have two hurt people
Mhm.
hurting each other, and then now it just trickles on down to the children,
Yeah,
right? And then that's when we talk about that generational stuff, that, what I'm saying, just the cycle just continues to keep on and on and on. So when do we actually say, okay, like, all right, we got to deal with this,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And like, what are we going to do? It's like, yes, really sitting down and having those really tough conversations
yeah,
too as well. Yeah, I can definitely, relate, to having a trauma bond.
yeah,
Too, I feel like my husband and I, we went through a season of like, the same thing for me too, right? Because, and I talked about this on a podcast with my father, my biological father. Because of him going through his own trauma, it then trickled down to me with him not being present, right? Which then hurt me. So now what I'm looking for is, in my head, I wasn't really looking for like a father figure, but that's what it really was. Like, I was looking for that love, right? Like that person that I can like be my person,
yeah,
right? But understanding that is not the role of my husband. Like,
yeah,
you he can't be my father. Like, so Naisha, now what are you going to do to kind of operate differently, right? But also deal with your stuff.
yeah.
but not also deal with your stuff. But now he also has to deal with his stuff too, as well. And as long as two people are willing to put in the work to do it,
Yeah.
it can definitely work. But it also, again, it takes a level of maturity, like it
Mm-hmm.
really really does, and a level of choice of
Yeah.
wanting to heal, because sometimes everybody is not in that place or that space,
No.
and
Mm-mm.
you got to be okay with that. That's where grace comes in.
Yeah.
That's where grace comes in.
Yeah.
So you said a mouthful, right?
Yeah.
Especially like talking about, I think one of my podcast guests called it like a father wound, right? But we've been talking about a lot about trauma, right? And I know you share a lot of your trauma and a lot of your story. So if you don't mind, can you share maybe a trauma experience that you actually, have gone through, and what that trauma experience actually, I guess, look like for you, and then how did it allow you to be who you are today?
Well, so I'm gonna give bullet points, and then I'm gonna share a main experience that ended up repeating itself through my children.
Mm.
So the first recollection of for me of any trauma was I lived. My father was abusive towards my mom.
Okay.
Was faithful, like just all the bad of the bad. And I lived through that all the way up to my high school years. But it on so I lived through that. My dad was also verbally and emotionally and physically abusive towards me too. Um, but aside from that, I at the age of 8, I got molested by an uncle of mine,
Mm.
and I was 8 years old, and I remember telling my mom, but I also didn't want anyone to know. So what I did was I begged my mom to not tell anyone. And but because at the time my mom was also she also had my brother, and my brother was born sick, and he was literally with tubed up and everything, like it was very serious. All the attention went to him, and rightfully so. Like I don't even like see it in any way. Um, but my trauma, me getting molested got, because even though I said it as a child to not say anyone, at the same time, it kind of got buried in with my mom's all other problems. So like
Mhm.
my experience never came to light, and so because I was so little, I felt like I was able to unconsciously dig it deep in my subconscious and forget about it.
Yeah.
And I always knew it, but like I just never thought about it. And until I had moved back to New Jersey, and I was at my mother-in-law's back then house, and my kids were in a scenario where one of my youngest called me saying that the police had arrived, and it just so happened that um, the stepfather of my father's kid of my kid's father um the cops got called on him because the person who reported it thought that he was about to do the same thing, because he
Mm.
to an aunt of that was my that an aunt of my kids. When she was younger, she went through that, what through her childhood. So
Mm.
for me, it was for me, the scenario with the trauma is that I got molested at the age of 8, when and then I basically um never liked when any guy would just slowly grab my shoulders or would want to kiss me. Actually, if anything, I turned into a kisser because a lot of the molestation was kissing. And
Mm.
so like sometimes we don't necessarily like something traumatic, especially if it's sexual in any way. It can either make us not do anything or do more of it.
Yeah.
For me, I kind of did it in a way subconsciously, where because I started doing that more in my high school years, where I'll just kiss anybody.
Mm.
And again, I didn't see it at all until just little things started resurfacing, to the point where it led to my kids' situation where they were at the risk of getting molested had the cops were not called. Um,
Mm.
they were called. They were, from my knowledge, they were never touched. But it was that moment that literally triggered my childhood trauma of being molested, that triggered everything else. Like all the trauma I had lived through, had I not, had my kids not gone through that scenario, I probably wouldn't have even paid mind to my traumas in the past. But because my kids were in the same shoes that I was at the same age, it triggered everything to the point where I, wanted to commit suicide. Um,
Mm.
I didn't do it. My battle has always been, depression, social anxiety, but the suicide ideation didn't come until 2017, when I thought I was living a fairy tale, and then boom, I got a truth bomb exploded on me, and then again, in when my kids were in a scenario that I was when I was younger. It just brought me down, and a lot of it was my unfaced trauma. Like I literally, I had to dig deeper the moment I was ready to plan my suicide, when I was, and that's when I had to ask myself, like, do you really want to die, or is it the pain that is it the pain that resurfaced that you don't know what to do with? And it was
Mm.
like, I'm a person that I could literally have the shittiest night prior, but the next day you will see me smiling. And it's not because I'm faking it. It's just, I just know it's my spirit. It's something in me that is like, all right, I could have had a shitty day the day prior, but tomorrow's a new day. Like, that's something my mom always instilled in me. Like, tomorrow's a new day, tomorrow's a new day, tomorrow's a new day. And so I wake up with the hope that tomorrow is a new day. And for me, like, once I had that real conversation, and I started seeing like what was being traumatic, it was the domestic abuse I had to live through with my parents, and me experiencing it. It was me, being ridden around in the middle of the night with my father while he was unfaithful to my mom. um,
Mm.
it was my brother being, about to lose his life when he was only 6 months. It was me being the oldest daughter, niece, everything, and any man in the family I was with, I was always in an adult setting. So little me never got the chance to be me because I was
Mm.
in adult settings. So a lot of that, it kind of messes up with your head. And the thing
Yeah.
with trauma is that it's never gonna go away. It sounds messed up. It sounds, negative or pessimistic, but it's trauma for a reason.
Yeah.
The only thing I do say is that it does get better with time. The more you dig in deeper, it's gonna hurt. It's scary because no one is necessarily telling you, um, that you're gonna be okay. No one's telling you that they believe you per se. So like, to even speak up is a big deal. That's why
Mm.
when I hear other people speak up, I'm like, I know it took you a lot to come to this point. And and um and that's the thing with trauma, like, and it's not gonna go away, but it does get better the more you are willing to uncover yourself.
Yeah.
The more uncovering you do, the more you get to understand what you lived through. um you understand that it was never your fault, but you still lived it. So that's why
Mm.
I emphasize that what you lived through. Like, no one can ever take that away from you. The pain that you endured, no one can ever take that from you. Um, but it's more so of just reminding yourself to, get rid of the shame, because I feel like no one shames us ourselves more than ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. That, I mean, I could have just kept like listening, because I mean, at the end of the day, like, you're speaking truth, right? And understanding, I am not like a therapist or anything
Yeah.
like that. Like, right, we're only speaking from our experiences, right? And what we have experienced. But I did this trauma like session, and just understanding, like, the reason why people respond the way that they respond most of the time is because of trauma,
Yeah.
untreated trauma, right? Because and I don't know, far as how you grew up, right, but I know for me it was like, you don't necessarily speak up,
Mm-mm.
right, about what's going on, right? Like you didn't really have a space to feel comfortable enough to speak up, to say like something has happened to me, right? Or, like, my whole story with me being molested too as well. That's why I said like I was relating to you like in so many ways, with the domestic violence, with my parents, and the molestation, right, as a child, right? And then you just kind of like stuff and you pack that stuff away, but not realizing that even though you stuffed it and you packed it away, it will come up, right? And then how do you deal with it? Like, what do you do with it? You know what I'm saying? Like there's so many thoughts around it, and not knowing really how to really deal with trauma. Because the woman that was teaching the class, she said something so powerful. Like you can see somebody come in the door, like at church, right?
Yeah.
You can see them come in, that somebody's wheeling them in a wheelchair, right? We know that, that they have suffered something, or, that maybe they're disabled or whatever the case. Like you can see it visually, but you can't see somebody heart hurting. You can't see someone that has been molested, but they don't know how to speak up about it. You can't see someone who maybe has experienced domestic violence, who has been verbally or physically abused, right? You can probably see the physical abuse, but you can't see the verbal abuse, right? Like we can't necessarily see that. So how do we respond to that, right? So I guess my question to you is like, what are the, like, did you seek therapy? Like, are you in therapy? Do you actively go to therapy to kind of work through these things of, of what you have experienced?
Um, so I haven't taken therapy as of yet.
Okay.
That's kind of my goal for this year. I took it when I was a teenager, but I only focused on what my parents were going through. So that's another thing I want to say, that if you have lived more than one trauma, be extra patient with yourself, because I am just getting, not over, but I'm still healing, but I'm just getting through not fixating on the abuse that happened as a childhood. Like I feel like I'm finally turning the page of my childhood trauma. So with my and my childhood and teenage trauma, but now I have to deal with adulthood trauma. So like I am not taking therapy. That is my goal. But what did help a lot was journaling. I am 6, 7, 8 journals in from 2019 till now. I'm like on my 8th journal, I think. And every day I do my best to write on it. And some days I just write whatever is on my mind. Sometimes it won't make sense. If the word hello is on my mind, I'll write it down, because that's something I've learned, that we carry so many thoughts in our mind, and a lot of it is just junk, that like, why not write it out? Like you'll clear more space. And I'm not saying that that's the fix all of everything. I believe that specific type of therapies for every individual is needed. But we obviously also live in a world where not everyone can afford it. And so for me, a lot of it is journaling. It's talking, having conversations with other people, joining groups, whether they're mom groups, women groups, of any type of category that I can, especially if it's mental health, because it's less alone. And a lot of it, I just relate to the journaling a lot. It has saved me a lot of arguments. It has been my confidant when I just don't want to speak to anybody, because I feel like a lot of times when we are going through it, yes, the number one advice is to talk to someone, but it's also the last thing a person wants to do when they're going through it. So it's like, if you don't want to talk to nobody, journal. Or you don't even have to journal. For me, nature is my everything. Like if all else fails, I'll go to the park and I'll walk for miles. Like, find things that make you feel safe, because at the moment hurting, we may want to be, especially if it's coming from a person that we care about, we may even want more support or care from that person, knowing that we can't get it. So like, you have to find outlets that bring you peace. For me, it just happens to be photography. It happens to be nature. It happens to be journaling. It happens to me putting on calming sounds. Like, a lot of people that haven't tried it, but it's like you don't have to do what I do. It's just like find outlets that will bring you to balance, that will bring you safetyness. Because at the time that you're hurting, or you feel like you're spiraling down, you need a safety net, and it's not always gonna be a person. It could be other ways.
Yeah. I definitely could relate to the journaling. Right. It's something about putting it in black and white. Journaling is something that is near and dear to me. And I can even feel sometimes like when I don't journal, I'm like, all right, Naisha, you holding a lot of thoughts, and the thoughts is thought, and like we need to put them down on paper. So I can definitely agree, with the journaling. And what I think what I'm loving so much about you, right, is the transparency of like, I'm still trying to figure it out, y'all. Right. Like I feel like because sometimes, and I think I mentioned this to you too as well, I really want to be an ambassador, for God, in really showing people that there's work that has to be done behind unmasking
Yeah.
yourself and uncovering and unveiling, really what we should not carry for the rest of our lives. Right. And I feel like your story really speaks to like, listen, y'all, I don't have it all together. I'm still working this thing out. I'm still trying to figure it out. And here's what I'm doing to
Yeah.
figure it out, right? The thing is, I feel like the most important thing is that there's movement,
Yeah.
right? Like you're moving, you're taking the necessary steps to do what you need to do for you first and foremost, so then whomever you love around you can then be able to reap the benefit of you doing the work.
Yeah.
Right? Like I feel like that is, because I know for me, I don't want to say judgmental, but I felt like everybody should kind of be doing the same thing, right? In the journey, right? Like, okay, no, like you need to, this is what you should do. You should, journal, you should go to therapy, you should have people, have a person and all that stuff. And yes, all that stuff is good, but if you don't do the work first, if you're not the first partaker of unmasking yourself and saying, I need to remove this mask,
Yeah.
what's really the point?
Yeah.
Right? Because you can have all that stuff, but it's really like doing the necessary work. And I feel like when I was reading, um, you know, reading your questionnaire, it was just like, wow, this is what it's really about. Like, you know what I'm saying? So people can really understand, like, yeah, it don't always happen how, you know what I'm saying, it happened for somebody else.
Yeah.
Like, this is my story, this is my story, this is my truth, and this is my journey, and this is how I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Right. And then even still trying to figure it out in the unmasking, because it's not like unmasking is not one and done, and it doesn't come really with a rule book, like, you know what I'm saying, or a policy and procedure. Like, you don't really know, like you all you know is I gotta keep moving.
Yeah.
I gotta keep moving. I can't, you know what I'm saying, like what you just said, the day by day moving
But
forward.
yeah.
Like literally, and sometimes it's like moment by moment. Like I literally just had an unmasking moment yesterday, and I'm like, I felt myself put back on the mask of avoidance, of, you know what I'm saying, of pride, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, this looks familiar, I'm out.
Yeah.
Right? Like you got to make it, but I had to make a decision to
Yeah.
say, am I going to go backwards or am I going to move forward? And sometimes moving forward hurt.
Yeah.
Sometimes moving forward is uncomfortable. Sometimes moving forward is not easy, but it's
Yep.
necessary.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
definitely necessary. So I just appreciate your real and rawness of like, no, that's not what I did, but I'm willing to do it. But this
Yeah.
is where I am, and this is what I'm doing, right? And I'm not gonna stop. I'm gonna keep going for me to get better.
Yeah.
That right there is amazing. So I'll be waiting for the book, right? Yeah. It's just, yeah. And I'm just grateful of your willingness just to be, you know what I'm saying, transparent about your journey and
Yeah,
what you're doing.
I feel like and I was literally talking to myself. I was talking to my mom about it too, but I actually had I had a like a little disagreement with my brother. But then now that I look back, even before recording this today, I was like, I got into a disagreement with my brother, but I feel like the way I pursued my brother, those like the tone, the words were actually like it should have been for me, basically. Like it was a
Mhm.
silly art disagreement, but like what I was saying, even though I was coming from a good place. Like now that I look back, like those was it was for me, and those words were more so like, if you want independence in any form, for me, it's emotional independence, financial independence, all types of independence, because I will, it's codependence been a word that's always been hard for me to accept that I am, it's
Mm.
not that I am permanently, but that's what I grew up seeing. That's what I ended up becoming. I ended up becoming codependent, and it's
Mm.
didn't want to become. So once I realized, the more I kept asking God for independence, especially now, it was more so of like, um, I didn't realize that independence also comes with responsibility. In terms of like reclaiming your life, when you're reclaiming your life back, especially if you're a trauma survivor, you don't know what that's like because you're always thinking about the other person or the other.
Mhm.
So when you are in the fences of where you have to face yourself and you have to ask yourself, not necessarily that you are the problem as to why you are in the place that you are, but more so of like, this is your opportunity to take action, to take accountability. Like what can you do? Like we already know that it's not that the other person may not be reciprocating what you want, but what are you doing to get yourself out of that situation? And for me, it hit hard in terms of accountability. Like I have to take accountability where I could have gone wrong. I have to take accountability of how also of basically I've learned to not place the blame on just one on the other party. Like it took two, it took two or whoever else is involved. No matter the type of relationship, whether it's family, romantic, whatever it is, friendships, it always takes two.
Yeah.
And um, when you're wanting to reclaim your life, your power, your voice back, it also comes with a responsibility, and it comes with a level of accountability. And with all that has been happening, I had to face myself again. Like, all right, if you want to take your power back, if you want to reclaim your life, you have to take that step that you don't want to, that you have to take, but you're dreading on taking it because
Yeah.
that's the way through. We can't take, you can no longer take plan B, plan C, plan D. Like if you chose path A, that's the path you're taking, and go in it scared, but knowing that you're gonna come out your with your life. Like that's where I'm at right now, and that's what I just want to remind other women that it's if you're in that moment right now where you have to make that the hardest decision of your life, do it. I'm doing it right now. I'm scared as shit. uh,
Right, right.
I'm on like I need my mommy, and thankfully I have my mom, but like I have to literally say that I'm vulnerable, um not because of necessarily the not I can't find the words. I have to say I have to say I'm vulnerable because I am tired of hiding the fact that I'm not vulnerable. Like
Yeah.
it is a hard time. I have to be realistic. Like if this was another person, how would I talk to this person? So like
Mm-hmm.
you are willing to talk nice to another person, you have to be able to have grace, patience, compassion, love, kindness towards yourself. And if
Yeah.
not, one can give you that because only you know yourself best.
Yeah. That's good. And that it kind of reminds me too of it brings me back to what you stated to as well in your questionnaire when I asked you, what have you like really self-discovered about yourself in your unmasking process, and what really stuck out to me is when you said, and you said it 3 times and you wrote it in bold: God, God, God. Right. And building your relation, you said building my relationship with God again has
Yeah.
been a major component of my healing. Like, so when you say, and that word again stuck out to me, right? Because at one point in time, you had a relationship with God, and then it kind of like you separated and then you came back. So I kind of wanted you to just speak to that, because I feel like that happens with a lot of people, including myself, right? Like I mentioned before, I think I was on a live or something like that, and I mentioned that, you know, I was always the one that was always, you know, if the going got tough or it got tight and it was uncomfortable, I was running far away from God. I wasn't running towards him,
Yeah.
right? I wasn't running to him to get help. I wasn't seeking his face. I wasn't praying. I wasn't doing any of that, because my thing is, why should I trust you and I'm hurting?
Yeah.
You're allowing this to happen, right? Like that was my real feeling, right? So, and I've learned now that, you know, in this season of choosing to heal and go through the process, that the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to him in a moment, or in, you know what I'm saying, in a situation. But that wasn't always the case. So I kind of wanted you to kind of like just speak to like what that process really looked like for Wanda.
So with me, it's with me, my relationship with God, I never really had one. It was more so of you know, I grew up Catholic. Not that we followed everything to the T, but all that stuff. But as a little girl, I don't know why, I just, me and the church and the way they portray it, it just tainted my image of God, not realizing that anything that we have here on earth, that's just what we created, you know, like to honor God, but like God is his own thing. Like God, all of the churches, all of whatever could be gone, but like God is still God.
Yeah.
And so I read a book, I forgot the author, but it was called Captivating Her Heart, A Woman's Heart or a Woman's Soul. And it was basically a book about God and how he views women and the importance of women, and how a woman can get closer to God. And I liked it because I consider myself a spiritual person, not a religious person. And that was always my battle, where I never felt comfortable, even on in my platform. I will always say, oh, the universe, God, what, Buddha, whatever, just to make everyone feel comfortable. But I was like, because yeah, so just to make everyone feel comfortable. But I realized that I actually have another friend that I did lives with last year and the year prior, I think, too. And she's all about God. So she's actually the one who inspired me a little bit. Like, okay, this woman talks about God, and she does it unapologetically. She's not preachy about it. She just says, this is my relationship with her. So that kind of like also incentivized me, like, all right, up raw and authentic is also giving credit where credit's due. And I have to give credit to God. The moment I started after that book that I read, and then just talking to God, it felt silly at first. I felt weird. I felt fake about it. Started again journaling, and the way I start, even today, I'll be like, I always start before I complain, even though it's not complaining about anything. I always say, good morning, God, or thank you, God, for another day. That's my favorite line. Thank you, God, for another day. Thank you, God, for always, 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 always. Or even if I don't journal it, I wake up, thank you, God, for another day. And it started off, even before me saying God, it started off by me looking at the sun. I would look at the sun when it was out, and I'd be like, thank you, sun. Because like I started just thinking random things. Eventually it led to God. And I realized that the more, especially lately, I've been talking to him a lot. And that's when I realized that all these uncomfortable situations I've been living through, I'm like, God, I know what you're doing. But that way, you don't have to do me dirty. Like, I know I'm stubborn, but
wow.
The pacifier from a baby, I felt like that. I'm like, damn, like, again, I was prepared, but doesn't mean it's gonna be easy.
I'm like sitting here trying not to get emotional, but I can't help myself, because like when you really, like when I hear you talk about how, you know, like what you saw growing up, like, you know what I'm saying, like it wasn't real, and to be able to witness, to see God through somebody else, and then want to tap into it for yourself, it just speaks to how faithful he is, right? So I just feel like, because of the season that I'm in and me really looking to him, it just shows that, you know, what you're doing is what you need to be doing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like us just being unapologetic about who we serve and who we love and who we honor and where we are is because of him and only him. And I'm just like, I'm just sitting here and I'm listening to you and I'm like, and I'm seeing his light shine in you. You know what I'm saying? And to hear you say like, I never really believed in, I didn't believe in that. I didn't believe in him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. It just made me really like, it made me really emotional, but it also made me really understand like, yeah, God is, man, he dope. He dope.
He's
Like,
dope.
he dope.
And that's my thing that like, I love it. Because girl, you're crying for me because I thought I go here and I was gonna cry. And I said it. I promise you, I said, God, I'm nervous right now, but whatever you want me to speak, I'll just speak through me because I don't know what I'm gonna say. But it's more that like I realized that like I was so fixated on trying to have a relationship with God and how others have a relationship with God that that's not what he wants me to do. Like God literally created all of us, right? If we go by that, he created all of us, so he knows how to communicate with us. We need to find a way to be able to match that. And so like I was trying all different outlets and I realized that's not how I do. Like the best way I can talk to God is me going to nature, to asking God to come with me. It's me journaling saying, God, I'm tackling a new day, or this is what I'm dealing with. And again, like God is as much as he's gonna bless you, he's also gonna not keep you, but he's gonna put you in situations where he gave us free will. That's basically my point. Like,
yeah,
he's gonna bless us, but he's not gonna intervene knowing that we have the capability to get ourselves out of a situation. He'll,
yeah,
in my opinion, when you're literally like at your when you need SOS type of help. But like if he knows you still have it in you, no matter how down you are, he's gonna take you there until you can no more. So for me, perfect example is the conversation I just had. I knew I had to have it. I knew I was talking my big talk, but I was also avoiding it. And I was avoiding it because I didn't want to take that step. I didn't want the reality to hit. But then it hit. And then I was like, okay, I literally asked God, please, God, allow, make, make it as clear as possible because I'm obviously dumb. Like,
right, right. Oh my goodness! My pastor, my spiritual father, just did he just did a sermon on that. Are you dumb?
it's like I'm stubborn. I'm a person that I won't leave until I have been beaten down to the T. And it doesn't have to be physically. It's more so I know because of trauma, I know how much I can hold on. But just because you can hold on doesn't mean you have to. And that's a constant reminder that just because you can endure it, just because you can handle it, doesn't make it right, doesn't make it healthy. So like you have to, like, you can lie to everyone else. You can put your mask on and deceive everyone else. But once you take that off, you literally got to look at yourself. So like, who are you being fake to at the end of the day? You're being fake to yourself.
And that's what it is. And I feel like that's another reason why I got emotional too as well, because I've been on this I feel like I'm about to cry again. Like, what's going on, Naisha? I'm like I'm in this different place and space with God. Like I feel exactly like what you're talking about. Like I'm talking about like all day, every day I'm constantly talking to him. You know, my church this year, you know, the theme of the year, the word, or whatever the case may be, it's called the secret place, right? And I really been tapping into going into that secret place, but understanding that it's personal. It's not for anybody else to see. It's not for anybody else to hear. Like, this is really for me. Like, you know, because like you said, we all have our own personal relationship with him. And I feel like that's what makes it so special for me, because before it was kind of like in my head, right? And this is my head. I'm like, well, how he everything to everybody? Like, I just want it about me. But understanding that he's an omnipresent God. Like he can handle you. Like, and that's the problem. That was my problem. You're always worried about everything else. Naisha, worry about Naisha.
Yeah.
Not worrying about everybody else. Right. So that is that. I mean, like you're speaking so much truth to this walk and this journey, when it really means to, what I'm saying, really learning God for yourself and really having that personal relationship if you desire.
Yeah.
Right, like it takes being intentional,
Yeah.
to really want to tap into something different.
Yeah.
And he ain't crazy. Ain't nothing crazy about you. It's just, you know what I'm saying? This is just but at first you definitely do. I can definitely I was having a really, really hard time with even like praying sometimes, right? Because my thing is I was so caught up and wrapped up, because go back with people pleasing,
Yeah.
so caught up and wrapped up with well, I want to do it like this person. Well, this person, this is how they do it, right? This is how, so I want to do it just like that because it sounds good, right? And it's like, but that's not you. That's not you. So it's not real. It's not authentic, right?
No.
So you know what I'm saying? Like that, it really can't be blessed, right? Like you got to learn to be real for you
Yep.
through God, with God.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I could just go, I feel like I could go on a whole rant because it's just like he's really showing up in so many ways that I never really imagined, but it's also because of I feel like because of the free will that he has given me, I've decided to tap into picking up that free will of, yeah, I can't do this without you.
Basically, like we can try and try.
But I can't. I can't. Like I just can't. I can't do this without you. I can't. I cannot. Oh my God, this was amazing. We're already at an hour.
Perfect.
Oh, it's amazing. So I wanted to, of course, I know you remember what your hashtag was. I never let I can't, listen, we can't leave without sharing what your hashtag is. I need to do like a whole like sheet of just hashtags of all my podcast guests. Cause I mean, everybody has the, hashtags. So do you remember what your hashtags were?
Can you tell me again?
So the first one was hashtag behind my smile, and then the second was hashtag her story in a smile.
Yes. 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 Yes.
I love it. I love it. So more to come,
More to
right?
more to come, and yes, just we have to embrace our past. Whoever you see walking down the street, we all have a story to tell, and
Yeah.
this is just a reminder that anyone who's listening to this, your story is not any less than mine, any less than anyone else's. If you haven't had the chance to speak up, just do it. It took me a long time. Yeah, so I understand if people are not ready to speak their mind or their truth, but it's more so just remind yourself that the opportunity to always reclaim your voice in your life will always be there because it's your life. And
Yeah.
forget about that. But the more you uncover yourself, the more you realize that it's your life, and it's your turn to take the reins back.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. That, listen, that was a drop mic moment. Somebody did Della, so yes, I will get the book. So she wants to know the book name that you was talking about. So I'll reach out to you and we'll
Yeah,
put it in
yeah.
we'll put it in the comments. Della, I'll make sure that we get the book name for you. Yeah,
Thank you
that's
all for
it.
watching. Thank you so much.
Thank y'all. I thank y'all. I thank everybody for the continued support of UTCM. Yeah, it's been nothing but amazing. So you guys, I'm like an emotional like wreck right now. Okay, like Wanda then took me to a whole nother place. But I love y'all. I thank y'all again for the support. Thank you, Wanda, for your willingness I mean, we're connected now, right? The best is yet to come for you. I'm so proud of you. Keep pushing, girl. I'm rocking out with you. And I love y'all. Good night.
Good night, everyone.